You see, add to this. There I am.
So let me turn that down.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. The only thing is I need this to be bigger. Okay, that's good. I'm good with that. All right. Anyway, so I had used Z digital I believe there's Z digital printing. Let's see, let's get the exact name. And what I will do for them, I will definitely link them digitally. I will link them in the description box after the live ends. But there's a lady on here, I believe her name is Tanisha. I don't remember her full name. And I'll link her name so you can go follow her channel as well. She, hold on. It's saying something's wrong with my sound. Okay. Should not be.
I turned this.
I'm trying to look up the buttons. There we go. Is that better? Because the volume should be on Kimelia more so than the table. But I'm hearing an echo with Kimelia. Okay. Not sure. Okay, hold on. So let's do this. Let me take this out and see if that works to take off my microphone. Maybe if I undo the microphone. All right. Do we have echo? Is there an echo? But I hear myself. Not sure what's going on. Welcome, welcome. Hold on, let's turn this. All right, is that better? Are you able to hear me? This didn't happen before, so I'm not sure what's happening. All right. Something's going on. Let's try this again. So anyway, I happened to come across one of Unbiased LLC's videos after she came and supported my last live. And she had a video on using the free version of Embrilliance. Now, I will say I did not realize they had a free version. I was going to originally pay for forgot which one it was. The other one that starts with an E. The Express is the free version. I was going to pay for the other one that allows you to digitalize your images. But then I was like, I don't know if I want to pay for this at this moment. I'm not doing a whole bunch of embroidery. I don't know if it's worth it. I have a 4x4 machine that is technically a gift from All Things Sean that I got from a giveaway from her. However, I don't know if I'm doing enough embroidery to pay for it. So I just started using the digitaling and just paying for them to digitalize my images. And so after I got the first one, I really, really did like them. they got a few plans that you can also pay for. So like the one I did, the first one I did, I got it for the 50% off. And then the second one, I was able to use a coupon and I got that for 40% off. And then the third one that I used, I also got 40% off because it was another holiday. They were both holiday, the 40% were both holiday discounts. And so they did send me a thing, and it's my fault. I didn't read the email. I know they had plans, monthly plans, but I was like, again, I don't do enough of embroidery to want to even pay for the monthly plan. So they do have a little bundle that I said probably next time I'll go ahead and do that. Well, um, like I stated, after I did my live finishing up the last bucket hat that I made, the last two bucket hats that I made, I the next day came across one of Unbiased's old videos from a year ago popped up where she's showing how to use in Brilliant's free version on a 4x4 hoop, which most people, because they've upgraded to these multi needle hoops, they no longer have any content on 4x4. It's very few of them. I do know All Things Sean. She does have something when she was using this very same machine, which is the the Brother PE 535. So she does have videos still up on her channel with, with that machine. She did upgrade to, I don't know if it's the 400 or 900 or whatever the case may be, but she did upgrade. She does have another single needle machine that's a different, it's a Brother, but it's a different number. I just don't remember off the top of my head. So anyway, I looked at Unbiased's video, and for the first time, there was someone who was physically giving us the rundown on, I'm looking for my zapper, that's the threads. I thought I had it next to me on purpose, but right now I'm kind of crafting in chaos, which I typically, don't do. And I thought it literally had it right next to me. I made sure I grabbed it, but I don't know where I put it. So I will zap those strings. I do have the hot zapper where I can just put on the small strings and get the smaller ones off to clean that up real good. Also, make sure whatever you're doing, use some applique scissors. They are the scissors that have the curved neck. So that way you won't cut into your stitches. It will keep you from cutting into your actual stitches, as you can see. So anyway, I knew that I needed some more bag tags. So I did make an embroidery tag that went on the hat. However, I knew that I still needed some embroidery tag, or at least that's what I wanted for the inside of my bag. So I followed Unbiased directions to the T by going back watching the video a second time, and which is she made exactly what I was looking for, coincidentally, which was a good thing for me. And so I was able to create some of these bag tags. Now I don't like all of the tags that printed out, but this is a test run. So this is a test run. This is a test stitch. I know it's backwards for you, but this is a test stitch. So whichever ones I like, because there are a few of them on here that are very legible that I will keep. And so I'll just cut them out alone, here to make the actual bag tag that I can sew on the inside of the zipper of each one of my bags or anything else that I may make that is small. I also needed this tag because the key fobs are only going to be 1 inch, and I wanted to put a tag on the key fobs that I'm in the process of making. So I'm waiting for Z Digitalizing to respond back to me because they actually sent me an image that was too big for my hoop. I started out in my notes section on their website, letting them know that I am working with a 4x4 hoop. So this image must sit within the 4x4 hoop, and I was going to be doing a and I think I confused them because I said that my key pop was going to be a 1 inch by 6 inch. However, I used Chat GPT and I went over tooth and nail, fine tooth and nail, or fine comb with Chat, working out the exact measurements that I needed to fit on that 1x6 key fob while using a 4x4 hoop. So I made sure that when I sent them that it needed to be under 3.8 in length and it needed to be about 0.45 in width. Well, they sent me back a file, not one, but two files, one that was a 1x6 and a 1x5. And both of them are too big for a 4x4 hoop. So I tried to take their image. I tried to use unbiased directions and take that image and put it into Brilliance to try to size it down. But that particular image, I guess the way that they digitalize that image, it does not allow me to lower the image less than 5 inches. So I have to wait for them to resubmit another image to me because those key fobs I was technically needed to have in the mail by tomorrow. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll get it back to me within a couple of hours or two. And I'm just gonna have to stay up late and stitch them out because I do have 10 key fobs that I have to stitch out, cut up and everything. But I did already do my batting. This is my batting. I don't remember y'all what batting this is, all because when I had to take out the original packaging to get it into the suitcase. I brought this right before Joanne Fabrics closed when we went home in April. And the whole time we were in Delaware, I kept the label and then for some reason get back out here to the islands and I lost the label. But it's about I guess an eighth thick, but it is a Pellon batting. I just don't remember the exact batting that it is, but this will be good enough to go inside of the key fobs. And I'm also still going to interface the fabric because I'm using a thinner cotton fabric to do the key fobs. So we will work on that later now because of that image being messed up. But let's get started on our hat. So the last time I met with you, you knew I had just finished up the other hat, and then we were having some difficulties with the domestic. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please say hi. Welcome in. My name is Kim. This is Kimelia Holt, or the real Kimelia. I am happy that you're here. I'm just going to work on a bucket hat today. Now, there's no rush on this one, but I do want to get it done and out the way because I also want to make one for myself. So you knew I had already started cutting out the lining. I cut out the lining. I interfaced this lining. I did use Pellon, and I will tell you this one about this one is still on its. I keep it in plastic because I'm in the islands and it gets very dusty here, and or plastic bag, and I don't want to get dirty. But I did use Pellon fusible medium weight, and this is the 931. It's a medium weight. Infusible by Pellon, Pellon. I actually do like it. I think if you use 2 layers, you may be equivalent to a Decoville Light for making bags. I'm not 100% sure, but I do like it. Does give a nice little, it gives nice little sturdiness to thin cotton, and this is a thin cotton. This is Quilter's cotton, but it's a thinner one that I did purchase from Joanne Fabrics several years ago. And I've had this for a long time. So anyway, if you take a look, as I told you in the last video, you always want to find your centers of all your pieces and you want to cut notches. So remember, we did this in the last video. I did go ahead and fold it in half. You just fold it in half and then you cut the notches on here, and then you fold it in half once again, and then you cut your notches. You want to make sure you do that with all your pieces, as well as your band. This is the band, and as well as your brims. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, and remember, I'm making one for matching one for my granddaughter. So the first thing we're going to do is, and I'm working in an awkward position. I'm not sure why it's not showing me because I do have me on the stage, but we're going to keep going. So we're going to go ahead and pin our side pieces together. And remember, as I said it before, there is a correct way to put your clips on. Remember, clips have one flat side so that it can go across the sewing machine properly. This is not how you're supposed to clip your items. And so we're going to go ahead and line up both ends. We're going to stitch those. And I am using for this, I am using my Juki TL. My foot is too far. Give me a second. I am using my Juki TL 2010Q. My foot don't want to come over. Sorry, y'all. I'm working with a lot of wires down today. I told you I am working a little bit in a little chaos. I don't normally work in chaos, but it's a little bit going on today. I made my space a little bit smaller than normal because I do have stuff on my bed that I'm working on projects, and I don't want those to be seen in the camera. All right, and so I'm just going to go ahead and clip the band as well because this is technically the first one I want to sew. So we're going to go ahead and get our side seams, and we're going to sew this about 1/8. All right. I'm going to push just a tad bit more to make it a little bit easier for me. All right. And you may hear 227 playing in the background because, as you know, I do not craft in silence. So let's do about we're going to do about 1/4 seam allowance. I'm also using, I am using Colton thread today, just a regular Colton thread, polyester thread. I am using white, and I am also using my machine in the middle. I do not sew yet on Jackrabbit, and I don't need to sew on Tortoise because I've been sewing too long, so I'm sewing in between in the middle. Whatever you do, make sure when you're stitching, you're going to go forward and make sure you back stitch on both ends. Oh, it popped. Okay, no worries. Okay. It's interesting. Switch scissors. All right, and as you know, I do not use the automatic threader because it never works for me. I hope you can hear me very well. I don't know what's going on with my setup today, but we're just going to keep on going. All right. Not sure what happened there. Okay. I also did find out, I don't know for y'all, anyone that's in here now, while you're in here the last time, that I kept having my stitches cut on me. I found out it was the way that I was hitting the foot pedal, so I have to order that stopper for the Juki foot pedal to stop me from cutting the stitches. All right, don't forget the back stitch. Okay. Oh, I bunched up my thing. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the other side of the band. Now, I do still have to work on the actual design of the bag. I have not completed that part. I am only going to do the lining right now, and we're going to work on that part together. Oops, guess what, y'all? I forgot the back stitch. One thing I just told you not to forget. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over, stitch forward, and stitch backwards to make sure I seal those seams. And even people that's been sewing as long as I have make mistakes. Which is one reason I like to go live, because I like to see, I don't know why it's bunching this up. I like for people to see, you know, their mistakes, because you watch a lot of these videos and people make it look easy and you think, welcome, 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 welcome in. You think everything is so easy and that we don't make mistakes. And, you know, we do. We definitely do. Welcome in, welcome in. Not sure why I'm not showing on stage, but I am on stage. All right, next step we're going to do is we're going to match up these notches. So what we're going to do is as you state, remember I showed you, here is the notch. And I already notched my band. Let me show you that. I already notched my bands as well, if you can see. And so we're going to put right sides together and match up the notches. You can start with either the seams or you can start with the middle. Notch is a notch, because if you did it properly, then your notches will match up. Now, there are times when you're purchasing these patterns, it may not match up and you may have to alter it a little bit. I am working on my own pattern. As I told you, the last pattern I used, I didn't care for it too much. I've actually been talking with the owner. Normally, I would iron these seams open, but I don't have the space to keep moving you around. So I'm just going to finger press these things open for now until I get more space. And we're going to match up the middle seam with that notch. So I've been speaking with her about her pattern. I didn't give her a 1 or a 2. I did give her 3. And the reason why I did tell her that I gave her 3, unfortunately, is because I had to do too many alterations to that pattern to get the band to line up with the crown, and then the band to line up with the brim. And I'm not talking about because of the patches and things that I made, the lining in itself. So as you can see here, and this happens a lot in rounds. I know people say they test out, some people test out their patterns, some people don't. So see how it doesn't exactly match up? Well, remember, I taught you what you want to do is you want to take and put small snips. I mean, really small snips that are going to be within your seam allowance, so that when you sew this up, there will not be any cuts inside of your hat. So this is a way to make your round pieces be able to fit, because those small snips literally are going to be within your seam allowance. Welcome in, welcome in. All right. So we're going to go around. Typically, I wouldn't even use these many pins. However, with having to snip it, I'm going to have to. All right. And see now how it lines up because of those small snips that I made in here. That happens a lot. That is not always the pattern maker. I mean, it could be the way it was cut. It could be the pattern in itself. So as you see, I'm going to have to do it again, and we're going to have to add those snips. Now, this is an alteration I technically should not have to do, but unfortunately, it does happen in a lot of patterns, whether it's garment making, whether it's accessory making. It does typically happen in any form of sewing. So to me, this is not a big deal. It's a little, takes away a little bit of time, but it's not a big deal for me. All right, I hope I'm trying to stay in frame. Because if y'all can see me, I'm technically sewing sideways a little bit, and it's kind of hurting. I'm going to figure out this way. Watch, as soon as I figure it out, my husband will be going back to work, and I'll be moving back out in the living room. You watch and see. Watch that. By the time I figure out a real good setup, you watch. All right, so I'm going to add some more snips. He said I'm already plotting. I came to the bedroom so it's because he's home, as some of you may know, on medical, and I didn't want him to be confined to, let me fix this scene, this notch. I didn't want him to be confined to the bedroom when I am, sewing or embroidering or anything like that. So I decided to move to the bedroom. So I moved everything to the bedroom, whereas before, I was out in the living room. Because, being on the island now, we don't have the space that we used to have. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So let me fix this one a little bit more. This one's a little wonky. Okay. There we go. Let's fix this just a little bit more. All right. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add the snips now to this one because we've already had to add it to 3 others, so we know we got to add it to the 4th. Like I said, really tiny snips within your seam allowance. All right. You definitely want to make sure you do not cut into that fabric, because if you cut too far into the fabric, when you go to sew up your brim, you will see it. So very tiny slits. And it looks wonky now, but it will work itself out. Okay. All righty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and sew around the crown of the hat. We're going to stick with the 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. You know what? I'm going to start with my let me start with my seam. And I didn't take the foot off only because I'm gonna have to put it back on anyway. Hold on. Because I'm about to start working with this heavy, thick material, denim again. Come on. Well, it's not sitting. Why does it seem like my foot's not sitting? Okay, here we go. All right. Don't forget, you're at a seam, you definitely want to go back stitch. And take your time, especially if you're new to sewing curves, take your time. So this foot is typically for thick fabric, but I just didn't feel like taking it off. So I have to be very careful. All right. Make sure your seams are staying, your edges are staying kind of lined up. Now, if you're new, I would not recommend that you use this foot for sure. because you don't have anything gripping your material, which is why mine is sliding. Ah, and you also stuck. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Okay. One thing I told you before I love about the Juki is the fact that the Juki ends with the foot down and I don't have to physically put the foot down. Okay. All right. And be careful not to stretch your material too. One second. Go. Oh. And I always have a stiletto with me. This is a stiletto. A stiletto just simply helps you straighten out your material, glide over your material, put your material through the needle in case you ever need one. If I was doing apparel, I'll be zooming through here. Bucket hats are not hard, but I'm just way more comfortable with apparel. Welcome in. Okay. All right, make sure nothing's being buckled up underneath as you're sewing. I'm hoping my daughter gave me the right measurements because she's like me. She actually has a smaller head. I didn't realize I didn't pull that one off. She has a smaller head. You see how this is sliding. So I'm hoping it fits. I'm writing off the measurements. She said her head was bigger than mine, which I don't think it is, but you know, that's what she said. Also, with the Juki TL, it does come with a table, but when you're sewing round things, that's a little difficult. So I've chosen not to use it. So maybe it's some apparel or bag or something like that. I may. All right. So that took a little longer than I wanted to, but it's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pinking shears. So if you don't know what pinking shears are, pinking shears, which need to be wiped off, they're a little dusty. I'm cutting that batting, but pinking shears does cut things in a zigzag stitch. And what that does is it just keeps your fabric fraying. So you want to get close to the stitches without cutting them. I use pinking shears a lot to cut down my seams, my seam allowance. Be careful, make sure you don't cut into any of your project. So I had to purchase some more. So these are still a little tight for me because I didn't ship all of my sewing accessories and things out here. So some I had to repurchase. And pinking shears is definitely one of them because, yeah, I need these. All right. So you just cut down the seams. Like I said, they're really good because they just simply keep your garments from fraying. When you have material such as 100% cotton, it will fray. Here's my bag. Okay, jump bag. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and put the band on. And remember, I told you you can either um, um, start with your middle, or you can start with the ends. But let's go ahead and get the brim. I'm sorry, the brim. Let's go ahead and get the brim stitched up. Again, we're going to do. Let's move you over some 1/4 of a seam allowance. All right. Oops. I'm probably occasionally going to hit this table because I told you how awkwardly I am sitting. All right. All right. So go ahead and cut the strings. Just cutting the strings down a little bit more. All right. Again, we're going to just finger press this open. And so let me tell you what I almost did. I almost burnt the heck out of my leg. I almost did. I almost had a penny incident. So those of you may know who I'm talking about when I say a penny incident. When I was plugging everything up to set everything up, I didn't realize my iron was still plugged up because typically I would unplug it and put it up. And I literally picked up the iron and was about to lay it on my leg. And something said, just lick the finger and touch the iron to test it because I kind of smelled it. And good thing I did because the iron was on my, literally almost burnt my leg. Again, we're going to just finger press this open. Again, I'm going to press this back open just with our fingers. And my roller, I had to order another roller. It's on its way as well. My tailor's roller. We're going to make sure we line up the seams. Please line up those seams, because if you don't line up the seams, your seams will be off and it will not look professional. So right sides together again. I want to start with my seam. Seam to seam is the best way to start. So I'm going to line seam to seam. Now this one's a little wonky, but I'm not going to worry about those stitches. I don't work that out. I twisted it off the band. Give me a second. There we go. So we're going to do seam to seam. Just make sure those seams are lined up properly. I'm very meticulous when it comes to my seams too. And it's probably because I used to sew a lot of robes and suits and stuff, and I've sewed all my work clothes in the past and stuff like that. And then, I had a lot of, I had the boutique where I was just, making professional clothing. So I'm very meticulous. Excuse me again that I hit it. Then we're going to make sure we match up those notches. Notch to notch. Right sides together, notch to notch. I did order another notcher so I don't have to do the scissor method. But for some reason that wouldn't ship. I didn't understand why. One thing I've always noticed, the band typically and the brim always typically match up. So you may not need as many clips for the band and the brim. So I'm not going to use as many. Okay. Well, sorry, I'm out of frame again. I do apologize. And so we're going to go all the way around and just make sure we just pin it, clip it, excuse me. You can use pins if that's all you have. You can use pins because this is 100% cotton. It's best for the head anyway. For one, blends are synthetic, so blends do have welcome in, welcome in. Blends do have chemicals in them for the record. And blends also lower your vibrational frequency, your natural frequency of your body. I don't know if you know that. Cotton actually raises your frequency. And when you mix cotton with other blends, it will lower your frequency. Just a little tip. All right. So I want to make sure my seams, that girl's good. Pat myself on the head. I don't want like this one too much. I want to redo this a little bit. I'm, like I told you, I'm real meticulous about those seams. So I'm going to fix this seam right here. Perfect. So let me do this one again. Even though it's darn near perfect, I want to do it again. Because I did kind of move that clip a little bit. Oops. All right. There we go. All right. So I'm going to start with my side seams. Remember, we're going to start there. If you don't want to start at the side seams, you don't have to. I just find it a lot easier to lock the project if you start with your side seams. I'm going to take this clip out because it got stuck before. All right. And we're going to do a 1/4 seam allowance. Okay, use my stiletto, push that back. And although the person is never going to see it, she's never going to see that part. I'm just still particular. All right, here we go. And whatever you do, please do not pull on your fabric because you can stretch the cotton. Cotton doesn't have a lot of stretch like a stretch material, but it does have some stretch. So whatever you do, make sure you do not pull on your cotton. Hidden again. All right. And when you're doing circles, your garments technically should, or whatever your project is, it should technically kind of curve with you. You should have to only feed your machine. You shouldn't have to do a lot of twisting and turning. Mhm. So, all right. And we're coming back around to the beginning again. If I hit that again, please forgive me. All right. All right. Once again, I'm going to take my pinking shears and I'm still going to cut down that seam allowance a little bit. Okay, we're just going to cut it down all the way around. Just cut it down a little bit. Oh, these things are so tight. I even oiled them a little bit and they're still extremely tight. You want to make sure that your garment is down out the way because you do not, by no stretch of the imagination, want to cut into that because you will be starting over. Okay. Oh, these things are tight because they're still new. Okay. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Ooh, things is hurting my goddamn hands, my wrist. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay, let's get this messed up. Let's get my mess up. All right, so now we are finished with the lining. So this is going to be the part of the hat that you would see on the inside. So this is the lining. And what I'll do is some pieces that fray. And this is what I mean when I say cotton does shed. So as you can see, those seams, they're perfect. Oh, that one shifted. See how that shifted? Thank goodness for my daughter, because if it wasn't for my daughter, I literally would unpick this all the way around and redo it. But that one shifted, even though it was pinned up properly, it shifted. All right, so here we are. So now, as I stated, I'm going to be just playing around now with, I don't know what happened. I'm going to be playing around. I'm going to turn this also, the needle, let's put you down and turn you off for now. And we're just going to go ahead and play around with the design. So I'm hitting my embroidery machine. All right. So here we are with our pieces. I did start cutting up the pieces. I could do Carson's, but I'm going to, or my granddaughters, I'm going to wait right now. Because what I want to do is I definitely want to make sure I do my youngest daughter's first, her mom, and then I will work on hers. Because if I have to do it differently, I will. All right, so I did cut out a lot of these pieces. Don't know. We're just going to work on it and see what happens. Some pieces I cut up differently, and we're going to layer them. Some pieces I just randomly cut them. I didn't do it like I did the other hat. The other hat was 2-inch squares that I just kind of layered. That made it really, really, really bulky. I don't think that I will do it that way this time. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do a zigzag stitch with my domestic machine or not, but we'll see. All right. So I'm going to change that. All right. What I decided I'm going to do is give me a second. I think what I'm going to do, so what I thought about doing, I should say, let me turn this right side back out again. So what I'm thinking of doing this time is just taking, because this has to go up. So what's going to happen is the actual design of the hat will be right here. So this is going to be the wrong side. This is the side that your head is going to go under. I'm thinking I don't want to glue these patches. So I'm thinking what I may very well do is just zigzag these pieces onto the hat. I'm not sure if that's really what I want to do. That's the part I had not quite worked out in my head. Um, but this is the pieces that I'm going to use. Hmm. I know I'm not going to keep this pocket whole. I am going to cut it somehow. I also want to keep some of the dark pieces to this hat. So I know I'm going to keep some of these pieces. However, what I am not going to do. Oh, and before I go any further, remember I told you one thing I don't do is I don't use the same scissors for anything I cut with the interfacing. I do not use my fabric scissors for interfacing, not whatsoever. Well, I should say not, but I'm very careful with using them. So these are my interfacing scissors, and these also scissors I use to cut my threads. But I definitely try my best to stay away from the interfacing with my fabric scissors. But I do want to cut this out because I don't want those stitches still there. But I'm not going to get rid of this piece because I may use the other side of the stitchings. So I definitely want to get rid of these stitchings. All right. So I definitely want this. Let me cut this off now because I know I'm not going to use that piece. I don't want to keep the stitchings on where the previous stitches was. Let's just cut it now. I can't use my fabric scissors for this, but I just choose not to at this point. They're small. All right. So whatever I do, I'm going to make sure I lay this down so that blue piece is showing. All right. So I think what I'm going to do for now is I think I'm just going to sew up Carson's lining. I don't know because I don't know still what I want to do with these pieces. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. The first one with the patch was very, very, very easy. I zipped through that. That came to me so quickly and so easily. This one is not so much. So I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to sew up this lining. And after I sew up this lining, I think I'm just going to go ahead and end the live. So let's make sure I am in frame. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and get it over and done with. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. All right. So this is her her brim. And this is a brim for a 2-year-old. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sew up her brim. I'm going to do her brim first. And remember, I did the notches. I'm just going to knock this out the way. I changed my mind. Okay, 1/14 ounce. Because for me also it is dinner time. All right. I'm also thinking about going live on my TikTok page. It's a Kimelia page. I did change the name a little bit, but it's still a Kimelia page. And here's her crown to her hat. And let's go ahead and get this brim. Sorry, this is the band. Oh, shoot, clip it. Here's the band. We're going to stitch up the band. The band is what goes around your head. almost like a headband. All right. I'll get through this one a little bit faster because I'm not pinning. A lot of pinning. All right. So smells like it's raining. It's been raining like crazy. It's not even rain season. I'm over it. So I'm just going to snip those little pieces. All right. So again, what we're going to do is match band to band. Right sides together, notch to notch. Okay, let's start with the seam and get it open. All right. All right, like I said, we're just going to finger press it open. And we're going to align the side seam with the knot. Making sure that you're pinning right sides together. Right side should always match. You should be always sewing on the wrong side of the garment unless you're doing a top stitch. And we'll talk about top stitch when I stitch up that bag in a day or two. All right. So we're now lining up notch to notch, notch to notch. All right, so let's take a look at hers. We definitely got to do some snips in her band as well. Like I stated before, it's kind of common. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and snip. Small snips. 1/16 of an inch. I'm like, really, when I tell you tiny, I mean really, really tiny. About 1/8 apart. Okay. Her head is smaller so I can use less pins. All right. I'm going to continue to snip. And say really small snips will do the trick.
Oh my God, another woman.
All right. As I told you, those little tiny snips will help you line it up. All right. Let's continue to snip to make the curve fit. I do think that when people are writing these patterns, they should put that in the instructions. You have to know what you're doing in order to know to do this. This is a tip that you learn with experience or learning from somebody else. So, a lot of people are making these hats and they're wondering why their reviews are low because they're not telling people that you got to do some altering to these patterns. Sometimes you may have to snip it it's really all the time that you have to snip it in order for it to fit. I'm going to add a couple more here just to get a better roundness right there. All right. And then sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit over. There we go. To get it to fit. All right. But I think they should add this as a PSA or FYI or a note or something in their patterns, because I think this would help lower those numbers that they're getting. Like the young lady whose hat that I gave her unfortunately a 3. For one, it wasn't a beginner hat. I'm not a beginner. However, it's not a beginner hat. Because I'm doing a video, I expect it to be beginner friendly so that when I'm showing it on my channel, making it, the beginners would understand it. For 2, there was too many alterations I had to do, because I actually had on the other hat, I had to alter the brim as well, and I never should have to alter the brim, because once you alter the crown and the once you alter the crown and the band, the brim should fit perfectly. So as you notice with this hat, I did not have to, this lining, I didn't have to alter the actual brim, because it fit perfectly. That normally comes from a round circle. And so with the other pattern that I use, I actually had to snip into the band underneath here, into the band, for the band to fit onto the brim. And I never should have had to do that. So I gave him 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't think it was that bad of a pattern, but that should never have had to happen. And for those that know, I'm working on a bag, and you may know I've been sewing for literally since I was 5. So that makes 50 years, going into 51 years of sewing. And I've actually sewn bags in the past. I've actually used not my own designs or anything of that nature, but I have used McCall and Vogue's patterns in the past to sew up handbags, and never had a problem. But then I purchased this slouchy hobo bag to make for my oldest daughter for her events. And that bag, that pattern was absolutely horrible. It wasn't labeled. The pieces were barely labeled. The pieces were scattered in numbers in labeling it. She labeled like 1, 2, I think 3, 4, and 5. And then the pattern is not labeled again until 8 and 10. So you had to figure out what 5, 6, 7 was. That's never, or I think that's how it was. Might not have been 4. It might have just been 1, 2, 3. But it just was scattered like that. I should never have to sit here and figure out how to put your pieces together. It should have been labeled. You will not buy, and that's a PDF pattern, but you would never buy a professional pattern from any of the big 4 stores, and they give you pieces that are not labeled. That would never happen. So as small businesses, when we're making these patterns, we need to be mindful of that and do the same thing. Because you stated that it's a beginner friendly hat to make, and it absolutely unequivocally was not. Because like I said, I'm not a beginner in sewing. But I am someone that knows how to make her own patterns as well. Now, typically, like I said before, I make my patterns for apparel, and I make them on the actual mannequin, because that's how I know how to make them. I have made a couple of crochet patterns for a few things that I've made, that I've created myself. But I would never put out a pattern that's not complete. So she does want to fix it and have me redo it and give her another and change my make sure this is stay line, because I did kind of notch the notch. She wants me to change my review. I told her I will if she alters the pattern and resend me another digital pattern, but I'm not going to just make another pattern. Now, I made a mistake. Typically, when I am sewing apparel, I do not stitch out apparel without cutting it out on muslin, MULSIN, muslin. Muslin is 100% cotton. It is a type of fabric that we as sewists in the apparel part of sewing, That's how we draw out our how we make our patterns. So once we draw out our patterns on the mannequins, we then cut those pieces out on muslin. And I will say that that's my error because that's something I don't do, and I did it. So had I used the muslin and not my actual denim, I probably wouldn't have been I'm more upset with myself on. I'm not upset with her on that because that's my mistake. But I made the good old mistake by not using muslin first. But it's a little hat. It's a little difficult with these curves. So I did kind of waste some really good expensive fabric that I got from Fleischman in Philadelphia. However, it's going to be salvageable. I'm just going to have to figure out my own gusset and my own straps. All right. Oh, shoot. All right. Whew, this baby hat. It's hard. All right. Again, as always, I take my pinking shears and I cut down some of the seam allowance. I don't like bulky seam allowances on nothing. And I am saying pinking, P-I-N-K-I-N-G, like the color pink with the I-N-G, pinking shears, they're called. So in case someone's new and they don't understand what I'm saying and they want to purchase some for themselves, I will say this is a good tool. I have a video on my channel that I did do of things that are needed for sewists, even beginner sewists. And I do talk about the pinking shears. I don't know if my new ones had come in yet or not, but I do talk about them. Because I couldn't find, well, I'm thinking I didn't ship everything out here, which is why I couldn't find them. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and finish off by doing the actual brim. The brim is the visor part of the hat. We're going to finger press this again, and we're going to do seams to seams. Welcome in. Seams to seams. Make sure you line these seams up real good. All right. Oh, I just shifted it big time. All right, make sure your piece is not twisted. You got to make sure you're seam to seam. You don't want to sew this and it's twisted. So remember, we're matching seam to seam, but we're also matching right side to right side. So that means the inside of the hat. We're matching right side to right side. Okay. And then now we're matching notch to notch. Notch to, oh, not one beat. Come on. Come on. There we go. Notch to notch. And if your notches are not exact, that's perfectly fine. You just want to make sure it's in the right area. You're pinning the notches up properly. That's all. And we're going to do notch to notch. Okay. Now, like I stated, you should never have to trim the brim. So as you can see, or the band, I should say, I don't have to do that. I can just go ahead and throw a couple pins in the band. I don't have to put any slits. So that is the good thing about this pattern. So this is a separate pattern from that other one, as I told you before. And it's able to line up perfectly. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, so we're just pinning this up. Right now we're working on a baby's bucket hat for my actual granddaughter, who is going to be calling pretty soon. I'm surprised she hasn't even tried to FaceTime me yet. But her mom does know I'm working on this, so maybe she told her no. Maybe she told her Gammy's recording. So her mom might have not let her. Because when she comes in from daycare, boy, she be trying to FaceTime me. Sorry. And my oldest daughter is so hilarious that babies know how to FaceTime already. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing at the same time because it's exposing them early to technology, and screens and stuff like that. But because I live in an island, that's her form of communication with me. So again, I always check my seams, make sure they're lined up before I start stitching out, because you want those seams to line up as if it's, because you're a professional. You're a sewist. You're a professional. You don't have to be someone who works for a big company to be a professional. You want your pieces to look professional as well. Never let nobody tell you you're not professional. Okay. So we're going to do again a 1/4 seam allowance. Okay. I'm going to just stitch this up all the way around. Again, with the Juki TL, when you stop, the needle automatically goes down. And remember not to pull on your your material too much, because you do not want to stretch your cotton. Like that. It looks like it's stretching. Shifting. So I'm going to match this up again because it looked like it's shifting a little bit. And before I finish, I don't want my seams to be off. There we go. I'd rather fix it now than have to fix it later. All right. One of the easiest ways to get your needle back underneath there with the multiple layers is to use your stiletto. Okay. Remember, I always backstitch at my seams because that area is a little bit more bulkier. Welcome in. Okay. All right. There we have it. Once again, we're going to grab our pinking shears and cut down this seam allowance a little bit. Be very careful not to cut the back into the hat. If you have to hold it like this to keep from cutting it, please do so, but do not cut your hat, because you definitely will have to start all over, or at least take this out and recut this piece. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and cut this out. Cut down these seam allowances a little bit so we don't have all that bulkiness in our hat. Why is it acting up? Oops, that's what I get. I didn't lift my foot up. Had my foot resting on it, and because of how tight these scissors get at times, I couldn't get through that seam. Start hitting my needle. I know me taking my foot off and put it back on my shoe. I actually don't sew with shoes on. I always take that one. I have these slippers that I wear in the house though, but it has a cushion in them. But I take it out and then I sew. I don't sew with sneakers or shoes or anything on. I don't know why. I never did. Come on, these scissors are working me, working me. All right, there we go. So, a couple pieces didn't cut. So I just snip it with my scissors. All right, there we go. All right, let's clean this up. Sorry, I'm hitting my machine. I mean, hitting my light, my camera. Husband's in there cooking, and he is making my stomach growl. But that's a good thing because you're not technically supposed to eat 3 meals a day, and you're not supposed to eat eat to live. You're supposed to live to eat. I think I said that right. All right, here we go. So here is the inside lining of the baby's hat. And this is an 18-inch head circumference. All right, so it did shift some. I do see that. I am not going to take it out. This is for my granddaughter. Had I been selling this, it would definitely come out. It's interesting because the other two, as you notice, never shifted in the other two hats, but that shifted again even after I fixed it. But it's okay, not doing it. But this is it for tonight. I may go back live later and finish the rest of the hat, as I stated, to go ahead and put the pieces on, or I may go live through TikTok. I wish I can actually go live on YouTube and stream it to TikTok, but I noticed that's still not an option that comes up. But again, here we have both of the linings of both bucket hat, and we're going to work on the patch part of the hat. So we're going to go ahead and end this for now. This is where we are for now. I do thank everyone who has come in. Let me I don't really want to turn it. Let's see, hold on. Let me do this. Let me remove this part. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, so let's just do single. There we go. All right. Not sure why I wasn't showing up before, but um, again, I thank everyone who has come into the live, who has joined in. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I'll be notified. If you're returning, welcome back as usual. I always have much love for you. Um, and like I said, this was another random live. I'm going to start going live again more consistently and more on a schedule. I just have not decided what schedule I want to go live on as of yet. However, I am going to start going live more. So I did another random live today, and just because I needed to get some more. I got lint everywhere. I need to get some more, videos in. I'm also going to be going live again, doing some other things other than making bucket hats and sewing handbags. I do have some other projects that I've been working on that I'm going to be doing, but I know mostly I have rebranded my business from the cosmetic line to now sewing now that I live in the islands, because of the regulations of the products. But I hope you enjoyed this live. Like I said, I'm not going to finish the hat without bringing you back on because I'm doing another patch hat. However, I'm going to don't know if I'm gonna do it tonight or maybe tomorrow or another day. And I don't know yet if I'm gonna do it on YouTube or if I'm going to do it on TikTok. But I will make sure if I do it on TikTok, I will upload some clips to YouTube as well as the finished product. But I appreciate you. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to pop in, even if it was just for a few minutes, even if you was listening from the hallways. I certainly still appreciate that you still took the time to listen in on my live today. I'm at the 1 hour and 30-minute mark, and so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I appreciate you again. Thank you. Love you. Have a good evening. Mwah. Okay.